What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fresh Podcast, where we bring you everything fresh in entertainment. My name is Drew Brumfield, your host as always, and join with me, as usual, is my good cousin and good friend Randy.
Howdy.
And we have a special guest for you today on this episode. I call him my evil twin. He's been my close friend for a very long time, Mr. Drew Doster.
Hello, hello. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you on. But today we are talking about we don't talk about music a lot, but we're finally getting back to. We're talking about My Chemical Romance, specifically their concert that was in the city I'm living in now, Nashville. It was last August 23rd, depending on when this comes out. And I really enjoyed it. I've been a fan of the band probably back in high school. And yeah, I never got super big into emo music, but these were definitely the one band where I'm like, okay, they're really good. Specifically like the Black Parade album, which everyone knows. And then a few of their other songs. But Randy, what about you? What is your personal history with this band? Have you been a fan of them for a while, or pretty new to them, or what are you thinking?
I've been a fan of My Chemical Romance for a while, but I will say it's more of in passing, being like, yeah, I like their music, and, I have a good number of their songs on my Spotify playlist, but other than, like, the Black Parade and their really big songs, like I'm Not Okay, I Promise, and Helena and stuff like that, I wouldn't say I'm a mega fan. But I definitely enjoy their music, and I've enjoyed it since high school.
All right. Well, Doster, you've probably never heard of this band before. You're a complete newbie, right?
Yeah, never in my life.
Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually been a My Chemical Romance fan since I've been listening to music, really. I really didn't get into music until I was about 13 years old, and they're really one of the first bands that I discovered. So I got into them really quick. I listened to their entire discography, and then I actually went and looked up to the band to see what they were doing, and when their next stuff was going to come out. And I actually found out that they'd broken up the weekend before. So that was my experience to begin with, and I've been a huge fan ever since. Probably still my favorite band to this day. So
yeah. Well, I didn't realize that it was the weekend before. That is terrible.
All your
dude,
fault.
It's crazy, right?
It's all
It
your
was
fault. They heard this Doster kid was like their music. We gotta stop. But it
We
didn't.
gotta stop.
Yeah. But that didn't stop them. Yeah, that didn't stop them for too long because they got back together in, correct me if I'm wrong, 2019, very late 2019.
Yes.
Yeah, made a few good, couple good songs. I don't know if anything tops their previous work, but we'll get into that. And before we even get into the concert, Duster, I do have to ask, you were talking about a conspiracy of why the band broke up at a certain time and possibly got back together, but you mentioned something about it. I don't know about this.
Yes, okay. So back when the band first broke up, about 2013, there was a rumor going around that in 2019 the band was going to get back together and start touring again. And this sprung from the idea that, My Chemical Romance, all of the guys in the band were huge fans of Smashing Pumpkins. It's been a very big influence on them. And Smashing Pumpkins actually took, at one point, a 6-year hiatus where there wasn't really anything known about what they were doing and all this stuff. And then they ended up getting back together. Well, there was a rumor that My Chemical Romance wanted to follow in their footsteps and do something similar. And this was spurred on by the fact that the music video and the sort of universe of the album Danger Days takes place in 2019. So people were like, oh, well, they really like the Smashing Pumpkins, so maybe they're actually just taking a 6-year hiatus and they'll be back in 2019. And at the time, I didn't really put much stock in that. I was like, that's kind of a reach. But it ended up happening. They got back together in December 2019, and here we are.
Yeah. They waited a long time in 2019, almost the last possible moment.
They did. I didn't think it was going to happen, but then, December came around, and
here they are.
yeah.
I guess, what was your reaction to, like, getting the news of, like, My Chemical Romance is back, we're making music again, we're going to go touring again?
Honestly, I wasn't as much shocked as I was just excited.
Yeah.
Like, when it happened, I was like, okay, that sounds about right. But I was very, very excited for them to be touring again so that I might be able to actually see them live, which, spoiler alert, that might have actually happened.
Yeah, we did end up seeing them live. And like personally, as someone who's like I've never seen them live, I like the band but never had like a huge interest in them. I had a freaking blast at this concert. I really enjoyed it. I loved the energy in the crowd, even the songs that like a couple of them I didn't know, but I was still getting into it. Just like before we get into like specifics, just general thoughts. I'll start with Randy. Randy, how did you enjoy the concert?
The concert had, like you were saying, a shit ton of energy just from everyone being so excited to finally be able to see My Chemical Romance, because there was this generation of people that kind of found this band, and I believe we kind of fit into that, to where we found this band, but our parents weren't going to take us to this concert. We didn't have money to go to one of their concerts or anything like that. And we found this band, fell in love with the music, and then shortly after found out, oh, they broke up. So I'll never get to see them live. And to hear them come back in 2019 and finally get to see them in concert. And that's something their lead singer, Gerard Way, brought up. Just like, I can tell a lot of you have been waiting a long time for this concert.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people were. And it was a huge blast, like you were saying. And how I stated earlier. I know all their big hits and stuff like Famous Last Words, Helena, Black Parade, that sort of stuff. But getting to hear some of the things I wasn't as familiar with, like... They ended with Kids from Yesterday, which I thought was quite nice. The World is Ugly, I enjoyed that. Summertime, I enjoyed that as well. These are songs that I honestly hadn't listened to that much. And now they're on my Spotify playlist and stuff, so.
Yeah. No. And I didn't even, like, put two and two together until you just mentioned it. Not only did I kind of put the timeline in my head, like, they got back together in 2019. And the reason this concert, or this return concert, is taking so long is because, I think everyone in the world knows what happened in 2020 with the pandemic. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's why it's so. And it was so late 2019 that, they weren't allowed to tour until just now. So it's been a whirlwind for them. Like, we're back together, we're gonna start touring, and the world shuts down. And so
I actually had tickets to see them in 2020, but then it ended up getting canceled. So that's why it took me until this year.
Oh, goodness. It's terrible. But I mean, they made it here eventually. Doster, how did, after the very, very long wait, did it live up to your expectations, or were you how are you feeling?
I gotta say, I don't think there's any way it could have. After almost a decade of waiting for it, I feel like it was bound to be a little underwhelming. And, I mean, it was great, don't get me wrong, it was a great experience, but I did definitely have a few problems with, specifically like the mixing of it, the sound, I don't know.
Are you talking about, like, when you say mixing, do you mean, like, their song choice, or do you mean, like, the actual, like, acoustics of, like, the concert? And
the actual acoustics of it. I mean, I just... Like, I'm the kind of person, I know every one of their songs. I actually did a test one time where a friend of mine played a random My Chemical Romance song, and I could name it within a second. And it was taking me like 10, 15 seconds to figure out what they were playing, just because it just sounded like sound that resembled music. I don't know.
I know. I kind of see what you mean, especially like going back and listening to some of the songs like after the facts. Like it definitely does sound different, and I mean they did take a multiple year like hiatus, so yeah. Well, it's not gonna be exactly the same, but like, yeah, even when like, and this is kind of I didn't understand what was happening at the time, but even when he was just talking normally, his voice was super high pitched, and I don't know if that's just the audio recording or if like he has always sounded like that, but I feel like I would have noticed that by now. But he literally, when he was talking, he sounded like he had just like swallowed a helium balloon. Like
they definitely pitched his voice up because I don't think he just doesn't usually sound like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I still had a good time, but like the first time he talked after like singing, I was like, whoa, is that like normal? And then you're like, no, that is not what
that was very jarring.
Yeah. Well, another thing,
like beyond like those like minor things, I had a very good time. It was a great concert.
Yeah. Well, other than like things that are jarring, and I'm surprised neither of you two mentioned it, but like he came, My Chemical Romance is known for their, darker black clothing, but he didn't dress like that, did he? He had a very interesting set of clothing on.
Yeah, no, he was definitely dressed different that night.
Yeah, he had
I was here for it.
He was wearing a cheerleader outfit and a skirt that, I'm not gonna lie, was a little too short on him, because there were a couple like low shots when like he kicked his leg up that I'm like, I see his underwear.
No such thing. I think it should have been shorter.
I've been outvoted. All right, yeah. Well,
that was one thing I did want to ask. I was wondering, so this concert was in Tennessee, although Nashville, Tennessee, so generally more liberal, and the people that are going to attend this concert probably don't give a shit.
Right.
But I was wondering if you guys thought that there was anyone who came to that concert and they were really gonna go to watch My Chemical Romance, and then he comes out there in basically a cheerleader outfit and with a skirt and stuff, and they're just like, well, I'm leaving.
I know the exact person who said that, Randy, and it was the security guard that checked our tickets, like when we were going into the stand. You know exactly what I'm talking about. This dude that was taking his job way too seriously about trying to like make sure everyone was in the exact seat that we were in. And we had this whole ordeal because Doster was technically a section away, but we were trying to still get him next to us. Long story short, Doster did end up sitting next to us, but
yeah, he traded tickets.
That guy
the
very
girl
much
next to us that was by herself.
Yeah, that guy very much did not have a good time, and I could tell he probably hated when that man came out on a skirt.
Oh yeah, if he wasn't on the clock, he would not have been there.
No.
Yeah, but I guess like I would assume that like if there's any like My Chemical Romance fans, they would probably be like,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
I think their reaction's a lot like, our reaction was really funny because we saw someone walking out there and we were like, well, where's the lead singer? Because we were a little bit far away. We didn't realize that, that's a dude in a skirt. We thought like,
I thought it was a stagehand.
Yeah, we all thought it was a stagehand, and then they picked up the mic and I was like, this is a weird sound. Just, oh my God. And I think Doster was the one that yelled, he's in a skirt! And we all laughed, and then that was the end.
Just like, nice.
We all had a collective nice. But yeah, that was a really fun part of the concert. Yeah, I assume it might be some political message or whatever, but also it's probably just good fun. I mean, everyone else in the band was wearing a Mikey fucking Way shirt. I was like, I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, it's definitely strange. I don't know, because I've been looking at like their Instagram and stuff, and first of all, he's not worn this at any other concert before. All the other pictures are him in like, t-shirts and sweatpants.
Yeah.
I was about to say, the clips I've seen online of like TikTok of him at concerts, it looks like he's just in a t-shirt and sweatpants. We're like, you know what, fair, get comfortable.
Yeah, but the thing that's weird to me is that they haven't posted anything about it And as far as I can tell, he's only worn it for that one concert. And he even said on stage while we were there that was probably going to be the last time he ever wore it. So that's just kind of weird to me. Like, why Nashville, you know?
Probably because
hey, I mean,
Tennessee's real conservative and it's kind of just like, hey, fuck you, clothes don't have gender.
This is it's music. It's Music City. Where else are you gonna do it?
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it was interesting. But getting to what you guys were both talking about, other than his wardrobe, the actual song choices. There were a couple that I was like, oh, I've never heard these before. I loved it. And there were a couple like my favorites that popped up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I was able to experience this live. Y'all know the ones I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But before I touch on those, I do want to touch on, there were actually a couple that like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I kind of agree with Doster I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of these choices. And like, mainly it was honestly like it was like the couple at the beginning, like Our Lady Stars was pretty good. It's not one of my favorites. I know Randy, you said you liked it. It's okay.
Actually, I haven't listed it as a liked song on my playlist, but honestly, I'd have to give it another listen through. I know when it came on, I was like, I don't know this one.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly don't know many of their songs off of that album.
Yeah. Well, and also like I'm not the biggest fan of Summertime. I don't know.
I digged it. It's a different change of pace for them.
It doesn't. Doster said it really good, so I'm gonna quote you really good. It's not MCR. It sounds like it's a different band's song. Like, it doesn't fit them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually I actually went through and counted how many My Chemical Romance songs I didn't like, and I came up with 3, and that's one of them.
Okay.
So like I even looked around during the concert, and pretty much nobody there knew it.
Yeah.
So I can only assume that it's one of their less
it was a concert with like the highest of highs, but there were a couple of songs where it was just like no one was moving, and like it was low. But that's not like what we're gonna remember, because what we're gonna remember is that infamous the crowd goes silent and they hit the most famous G note in all of music, and then all everyone would go whoa, and so okay. Before I mention any other, Doster, what are the 3 songs that you didn't enjoy? Because I wonder if it's the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it was. Oh, are we talking about like on the set list?
Yes, on the set list. Yes.
Okay. Well, I was talking about My Chemical Romance songs in general. Every song I've ever released.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of the set list, I think there's only like 2 songs I don't like.
Yeah. Okay, then never mind. I thought you meant like that they played, but yeah, I wasn't.
No, that's my bad.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Summertime, but I'm really not going to complain about the music choices, because before we went in, I pretty much said there's 3 songs that like I really wanted to play. One was Teenagers, because that's arguably, especially like with like memes and stuff, arguably their most popular song.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, that song.
There's a case for it.
Yeah, there's a case for it. But like that song they had to play. And when they played it was awesome. The other 2 was Thank You for the Venom, and you guys were even saying that like that's a weird pick. Like before we got there, it's like it's probably an odd shot that they're gonna play that one, but they did. And I remember like I remember as the song was starting, I was like, wait, I know this. And then I look over at you guys, and you're like, it's the song, it's that. And I heard the first lyrics, I was like, oh my gosh, they actually did it. So it was such a wild moment of like they played my song. And then the last one, it might have, I don't know how actual popular this song is, but I really like it because the title is Na 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 Na. Might have had 1 or 2 extra nas in there, but I wanted that song just because I feel like that was a great song for the crowd, and it's a much more like faster pace, like upbeat song, and if the title wasn't obvious enough, it's a really easy chorus to sing. And it almost turned into like the audience was singing that part of the chorus, and then he would fill in like the actual words. And that song was great. So yeah, I was, after like they had played like those three, and that was really early in the concert, by the way. Like, Thank You for the Venom was 5th, Na 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 was 6th, and then when was Teenagers? Did I skip Teenagers? Where'd it go?
So I don't think you ended up putting Teenagers on the set list.
Did I
Looking at it, you missed it.
How did I
I did play Teenagers.
They did.
Yeah, no, I was the one who was recording it, and I think I was just so hyped for that song that I just forgot to write it down.
Okay, I was wondering because I don't think I did, but Teenagers was like Teenagers was after Na Na Na, but like once they played that, I was like, I'm satisfied. Like they could have stopped there, or really what I said, they could have hit that G note and then not done the rest of the song, and I would have been happy. Like money well spent. They could have hit done, and then just left, and I'd be like, I'm good. I'm satisfied. I would have been the only one satisfied, but I would have been satisfied. So, Doster, how is your, you did say that like only one song was kind of disappointing, or one or two. So like how do you think they did with like the song choices in this?
Overall, I think their song choices were great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of these are like, their most iconic, most famous ones, but a lot of them are also like, you got some deep cuts in here that I think are really good. One thing I don't understand is why they started out with like their newest one.
Yeah.
I feel like most bands, when they release like a new single, they'll usually put that somewhere in the middle, but they just started right off with it, which I'm not really complaining. I personally not the biggest fan of this one, so I'm kind of glad they got it over with.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
I feel that because honestly, like when I'm looking at it, I'm noticing like the songs I'm not super keen about are like the first like couple, and then and then like pretty much after that, it's really good. Especially during after they do Black Parade, they do counting Black Parade. That is 4, Black Parade songs back to back, and then Helena, and those are like really popular songs. So like they ended incredibly strong. Yeah, Randy, talk a little bit about like when we're like at that point, like go from Welcome to Black Parade to Mama to Sleep to Famous Last Words. Do you remember like how tired we were, like how exhausted we felt?
We were, yeah. It's pretty much like, all right, they did Black Parade, and then they did Mama, and I think I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a seat for a sec, or at least like lean back, because we were up right against the wall, so we were able to kind of lean back against the wall, and but then they did Famous Last Words, and then Helena, and it's just like, well, and back up we get.
No, we can't sit down for these. We gotta get up and get moving. But yeah, it was a lot. I really enjoyed it. Randy, did you have I don't know if it's a favorite song just of the Joan, but did you have a favorite song that they played during that concert?
So that's hard to choose because, I mean,
I know, yeah, because I picked like 3 when I chose.
Really good ones.
So, or I guess like maybe a couple. You don't have to think of just one. If like you have a couple that come to mind. Should I come back to you?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at the set list.
Yeah.
I'm Not Okay, I Promise. Classic, and the crowd erupted on that one, and that one was really fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I know you guys weren't the biggest fan of it, but I enjoy Foundations of Decay, their newest song.
Yeah.
So it made sense to me for them to start with it, just to kind of promote it, because like everyone knows their old stuff.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Right.
Like all their old big hits, everyone knows. Everyone knows Black Parade. Everyone knows famous last words, Helena, Mama, that sort of stuff. They all know it. So just to kind of be like, hey, this is our newest song, and you know, check it out.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure everyone at the concert has already checked it out at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know, just to kind of promote it more. Like, it makes sense for them to start it with that.
I'll also
House of Wolves was also really good that they did.
Yes.
But yeah, there was they played the bangers.
Yeah. I'll also
With
say
a couple deep cuts, so yeah.
Yeah. I'll also say, like, now that I'm kind of thinking about it, Foundation of Decay, it's good, but it doesn't. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, it's like I don't know another place you would put it, because it is kind of like tonally pretty different than like a couple of their things. Not completely. It's not as bad as like Summertime.
Okay. In my opinion, personally, I think it sounds basically like if they took Sleep, which they played near the end of the set list. If they took Sleep, and then just kind of like rewrote it a bit. That's sort of what Foundations of Decay is to me. That's what it sounds like to me. So that's sort of how I get that sort of like, ooh, I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of it, because it just kind of feels like a retread of stuff they've already done.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that breakdown in the middle does go hard, so it does have points for that.
Yeah, it is. I can see it, yeah. I guess also that would... See, I didn't notice that. Now I'm going to like listen to them back to back to see like I'm sure you're right, because it's just how often you listen to this music, but now I'm curious to listen to that again. But also, I guess
I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah, I guess that also does make sense, because like if you do have two songs that are like you are worried that like they're gonna sound pretty similar next to each other, yeah, you want to spread them out as much as possible. So like, yeah, putting that at the top and then Sleep near the bottom, like, makes sense.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make sense.
So I could see it. Yeah, I'm trying to think what was okay, and help me to refresh my memory, guys, just because I get some of the moments. What was one of the songs? It was towards like the very, very end, where, and even he specifically said like, that looks beautiful, where almost everyone in the stadium pulled out their phones and turned their flashlights on. Not an uncommon thing in a stadium, but when we were in Bridgestone Arena, which is a hockey arena, and it was incredibly dark with it, but when everyone did that, that place lit up like a Christmas tree, because almost everyone's light was on. Do you guys remember which song that was? Because I was trying to remember.
It might have been The World Is Ugly.
I think it was The World Is Ugly.
Okay.
That was the first time I heard that song. I think for some reason,
Yeah.
it just hasn't come up, because often, if I just hit shuffle on MCR, it's going to play their big songs, and this usually doesn't come up, in the time span I'm listening to it. And that being the first time I heard it, I was like, you know what? Yeah. I mean, it is, like I said, a little different to what their normal pacing is, but I really enjoyed it. So I was like, add that to my liked music.
Yeah. That's definitely a song where I'm like Randy, I might have listened to it once and then forgotten about it. Like, it's not something that stands up, because, when I think of My Chemical Romance, my first thought is, the Black Parade, the more edgier stuff, the more rock feeling stuff, not their slower, like, I have a specific mood I'm in when I'm for it. But that song I hadn't listened to very much, and I really liked that moment in the concert, and now like I almost feel like kind of a connection to that song, like when I'm listening to it and I think back like, oh my, like the moment where we lit up this arena and it was just really cool, like shots of all these people and the way they played it. So I don't know, I kind of think I appreciate that song, and not just that one, but a couple of their own songs, like their more slower stuff, a bit more, now that I've taken the time to see them live and then gone back and listened to them. Like, no, okay, they do have more than 2 albums worth of. They have a lot of like really good underrated music. Doster, other than, because you're a big My Chemical Romance fan. And it doesn't even have to be from this concert, but is there any song that like you think more people should listen to, like kind of an underrated an underrated song that goes a bit under the radar?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to go with one of the ones off of the same like. God, it's not even really an album, more of like an album type thing that The World Is Ugly from.
Yeah.
It's called Conventional Weapons. It's more of like a collection of singles that they didn't release. So I'd probably go with Make Room with 3 exclamation marks. That's probably my favorite song they've ever recorded.
I do,
and not many people know it.
I do like how you have to that it adds specifically 3 exclamation points.
I think it's 3 actually. Let me double check that. Hold on.
No,
it is. Yes, it's with. I was wrong. It's with 4.
Oh,
4
see that fourth one
that extra one
really makes a difference there. Okay, but why that song?
Honestly, I don't know. It's got this weird sort of like punk rock mixed with like 50s like rock like aesthetic thing. I don't know. It's like if you mixed like na 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 with Vampire Money off that same album, and those two had like a kid, this is what that would be. And I just really like that.
Interesting.
I was gonna say I've not heard that song, so I'll have to go check it out after this.
I'll say I was looking up right now, which is why if you heard like the very faint second of a song playing, that was me. But yeah, speaking of Vampire Money, that was also an underrated one where like I knew it and I listened to it like once or twice, but that was I enjoyed that one. I think it was more just like it came right out of when they did a lot of the Black Parade songs, and then Helena, that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. This is a great song, but I'm just like, I can't stick my arms up anymore.
Yeah, it's a good one to kick off an encore with for sure.
Yeah, that's the other thing is they did play an encore, and the 2 songs that they played were, it was "Hang 'Em Up High" and "Kids from Yesterday." "Kids from Yesterday" was I feel like I'm a broken record, but like that's one of the ones where like after hearing it live, I have a new appreciation for that song. I really, it's not like a lot of their other stuff, but I did really enjoy that song.
Fun fact, actually, at least at some point in time, they did an interview where they said that every individual member of the band's favorite song was that.
Really?
Yeah. So that's like all of they think that's the best thing they've ever recorded, and honestly, I can see it.
Yeah.
That makes sense on why they'd end with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does, honestly, when they were singing it does kind of make sense of just like, because if you think, because the song is Kids from Yesterday, it kind of almost feels like we were these teenagers, quoting their other famous song, and now we're adults. Like but we're still kind of kids at heart. We were those kids that from yesterday that were causing problems, that had all these big dreams and did everything, and now we're here in the present day. So it fits them really. It feels like a very personal song to them. That like they're
for sure.
Yeah, like it's almost like this is where our journey is at. We used to be these teenagers that people complained about. We always had the black hair and talk about the devil or death, and now we're adults, and now we have paying jobs, and now we're just trying to live life. So yeah, I haven't. That's why I like going to concerts with bands that like I kind of know, but I'm not super into, because I get to see a lot more of like their good music, and most of the time when they're performing it live, it's better than their like studio versions. I guess I keep going back to Doster because you're the expert. Were there any songs, and this is a bit of a complicated question, but were there any songs that you either liked more hearing performed live versus hearing the studio? And I know you did say that like you weren't the biggest fan of the audio mixing.
Right.
So, but was there anything that stood out, I guess?
I think probably The World Is Ugly, just because you can listen to that like in your car, and like it's a beautiful song, but like being surrounded by people waving lights in the air and listening to like Gerard belt it out right in front of you, it's just like it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, definitely. Randy, just because I haven't talked to you about, and we've mentioned this a lot of times, but just to actually like sit down and talk about it. What was it like when the theater or the arena got a little silent, and then we just heard that first G note, and we all knew what song was gonna play. Well, I guess, and it's because this is the album you know the most. How did you enjoy the performance of "Welcome to the Black Parade"?
I mean, the stadium literally just blew the roof off of it.
Yeah.
On it, like within the first, like you said, the first note, everyone's screaming their heads off, just like, oh my God, it's Welcome to the Black Parade, and I know like even for that one in particular, so they had a camera going through and then these two giant monitors, so that way people up in the nosebleeds could kind of see a bit better what was happening on stage. Yeah,
Yep.
us. But for a lot of that song in particular, I noticed they were pointing it to a lot of the front row of people in the general admission, like in the pit and stuff like that, just because so many people were just, yelling out those lyrics and singing it along with them. And yeah, it was a really great experience, and I appreciated that they kind of shifted the camera off of the band and focused a little bit more on the fans on that one, just because, I mean, it's their biggest song.
Yeah. It is the song that, like Doster said, what they were thinking was going to be their magnum opus. They're like, this album is going to be our big finale, and this is, it's the title of the cover, or the title of the album, so it's like, this is the big one. So, and it still lives up to today. Like, that song is great. That song was great back when it came out. That song is great today, and it was probably even better hearing that live with so many people just yelling their heads off. I am glad you mentioned that video that was playing up there, because I do want to mention something I really liked. Little video nerd gonna talk, but I liked how every once in a while they would do what's known as a rack focus. So essentially, and you guys probably saw it, but you just didn't know what it was called. They would zoom in on something specific, and then the camera would start going out of focus, and they would do something interesting of the next shot they cut to would start out of focus, and then they would bring it back into focus. So it was like,
yeah, I did appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a handmade production.
I noticed that.
Yeah, there was a lot more that went into the actual production than like I've seen in a couple of our content, and I appreciate that. That like, I mean, this is MCR. They go the extra step. They go in the extra mile to like make it, make it different, make it fancy. Put in some video transition. Cut to the audience. I love the shot of one audience member stuck their hand out. It's just the biggest middle finger ever, and the camera zoomed in on it and did that rack focus and then cut back to the lead scene. I was like, that's awesome. That's a great, and whoever hand that is, I hope they still have that video, because that would be amazing. That was great. But speaking of also the set, and I have no idea what this stands for, and I don't know if you guys ever deciphered it, but there was something on the set, because behind them it looked like just this destroyed dystopian city, not unlike what MCR, and there are these occasional flashing letters on the back, and I remember during the entire time Doster was trying to like decipher what that was. Did you ever come up with anything, or was it just like it's just random?
Okay, so from what I could make out, which wasn't the whole thing, it was a neon sign. It said 201 KLS dead, and then there was like this picture of like a dead rat or like a dead lizard or something, and then below that in neon letters EXTER, and then it cut off, and I couldn't tell what the rest of it said. I assume it was like exterior or something, but I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. It still perplexes me.
Okay, I was wondering, because even at the end of the concert you went over to a different section, like just to get a different angle, just to see if you could see it better. I was like, I wonder if he ever came up with what that was.
No clue.
Yeah, there's gonna be someone on Twitter that like puts all those letters together, and it's gonna be like some I don't know, some code or whatever, and it'll be like he's gonna predict their next album or their next tour date or something wild, or they're gonna.
I mean, knowing them and knowing how they got back together, that whole conspiracy, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I could see it. All right, but kind of other than, I guess, looking to the future, this was a great thing, but I kind of know the answer to this, but like, would you guys go see another My Chemical Romance concert? I guess the better question is, do you want them to keep making more music, or would you just prefer they stick to what they're at now, stick to the classic, and just kind of keep doing this rerun tour eventually? Doster, or actually, Randy, I'll let you answer that because I've asked Doster a lot of questions.
All right.
Yeah.
I would like to see them continue to make new stuff, but I mean, that's also because I enjoyed their newest song, Foundation of Decay.
Yeah.
So I would like to see how they've changed, what new things they'll come up with after, that long hiatus. And then finally getting back together. I'd like to see what new things they come up with. And because I enjoyed their first song, I think they'll continue to come up with new things that are really good. So probably, for this tour, they're going to be playing most of the classics and whatnot. And then there might be a year gap or whatever, or however long it is for them to write that new album. And then they'll tour that new album. And then I'm sure still play the big hits.
Yeah.
Probably maybe less of the deeper cuts like Summertime and The World Is Ugly and stuff like that. They'll probably stick more to if they're touring the new album, also still play Black Parade, still play Helena, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. No, they're never going to stop playing Teenagers. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But do you want it to be? I guess
think people would be mad. So
yeah, of course. Well, Duster, what do you think? Are you thinking keep making music, keep doing that, or just stick to what you got?
I think they should stop. Personally,
Really?
I think if they did make more music, I wouldn't be mad about it, especially if it ends up being good.
Yeah.
But I just think when you've got 4.5 perfect records, why risk it, man? They've already got they're already world famous, selling out arenas. I don't know. I'm kind of scared for if they do that they might blow it at the last part.
Yeah. At the very end, ruin your perfect streak. I could see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, also there is an argument to it's well, you are world famous. Everyone knows, even if you're not into emo movies, everyone knows My Chemical Romance. So what do you have to lose? Other than, reputation.
Everything.
I guess, reputation, your fans, but I guess then...
Here's the thing. I don't think they could ever do that. I don't think they could actually ruin all the goodwill that they've built up.
Yeah.
I'm just a very anxious person, so...
Oh, no, I mean, and that's justified. That's perfectly good, because there is an argument to, if you've done good stuff and then you took a year off, it's maybe stick to what you know. But I guess, and this question is directed at Randy, if they did keep making music, would you want them to almost try to imitate what they did in the past, or just go in a different direction? Maybe try a slower tune, maybe you try faster and angrier, or just try to match the same tone as what you did before.
I feel like they almost have to do new things, because if you just try and imitate yourself, people are going to notice.
Well, yeah.
And be like, oh, you haven't changed anything.
Yeah.
But I know that can make some people mad, being like, oh, this isn't, as kind of Doster said when he was talking about Summertime, he's like, yeah, it's a fine song, but it's not, it's not MCR.
Yeah.
But bands, they change and evolve over time. They have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested to see what new things they can do. And but also, what Doster said is, and I also agree, I don't think they could blow it up to where, I don't think they could blow it up and make people man, I'm not going to go to an MCR concert.
Yeah.
Like, big fans are going to. They're world famous. And I don't know, maybe if they put out 2 albums that were like crap, which I don't think they could. They're really good writers and artists. Then maybe, but
I don't know.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I am kind of interested to like see, and it might just be pure, I think it's more pure curiosity than like excitement. Like I really like the band, but I'm also like, I'm really curious of like, what does My Chemical Romance look like, you know, so many years after what their image, like what do we look like? What do the kids of yesterday look like as adults?
Well,
So,
clearly they're wearing cheerleading uniforms.
yeah, so you know,
And working it.
Of course.
working those looks. So, but I'm saying, like, yeah, I'm like, well, this is a really good start. I kind of am on the side of like, I want to see where you go. Maybe they do have maybe that's a reference to their new song "Cheerleaders" that's gonna come out in a couple of years.
It's going to be like teenagers,
Yeah, it's gonna be like.
but just about being like total pricks.
Yeah. Cheerleaders scare the living crap out of me. Like it's everything, but just only like a few words are just slightly different. Taking care less whether we win or lose. Like but it's just like, see, this is why I'm not a songwriter, by the way. I just judge other people's music, not do it myself, like a real critic. Okay, but that is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still on the boat of I want to see what they can do. I'm curious. Well, as we I think I've kind of ran through my gauntlet of questions, but before I turn that over, do you guys have anything else like from the concert that I didn't ask you or you didn't have a chance to talk about? Because I mean, there were a couple songs that we didn't directly mention, but we're still good. This is an open question. Randy?
I mean, this wasn't a song part, but I think part of the fun of going to a My Chemical Romance concert was kind of getting to address a bit more out there. I got to kind of fill out those emo kid dreams I had, even though I looked like a total dork in high school. Inside, I was like, I wish I could, maybe buy some of those clothes or whatever.
Dye my hair black and put on eyeliner poorly and get your black
do
nails.
Black nails and stuff. I didn't do the eyeliner, and I was glad I wore shorts because it was hot, but I do kind of wish I ended up wearing my black jeans instead. But did get to do like black nails, and I was just like, yeah, this works for this occasion.
Oh, it's definitely
So,
if you're gonna
that was
do
fun.
it. Yeah, if you're gonna do it there. I do also love Doster's choice of wardrobe. Not just the paint, but the fact that you wore a black parade T-shirt, and then any other person that had that very same T-shirt, which was a good like half the arena. You always hey, nice shirt, and that's how we could tell who was cool or not if whoever said it back to you.
Right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think how many people you actually said that to.
Probably like a dozen, honestly.
That's probably a good number. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a dozen. But yeah, if I ever do see them again, because my original plan, I wanted to get. I didn't think about this until like literally last minute when Dasha pointed out get a collared black shirt and then a plain red tie, because they did that look way back in the day, and that's a really cool look, and that would have been cool to like dress up as their old thing and go to their concert. I saw one person dressed like that, so it would have been fairly unique. I don't know. That would have been fun, but I didn't have a good tie that worked with it, so.
Yeah, you
time.
ended up having a striped tie, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a striped red tie, and I was like, now I just look like I'm going to a business.
Going to
meeting.
work.
Yeah, I'm going to work. And I'm just, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the vibes. But no, I love the audience there, barring a few security guards. But no, it was very much like a fan interaction. Interacting with all the people around you. saw people screaming, saw people with super long hair just whipping their heads back and forth. It was like it was a rock concert in its truest form, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity to do that. All right. Well, if that is, well, I guess, Josh, I forgot to ask, is there anything else that you would like to mention about the concert that I didn't ask you about?
I don't think so.
No.
Actually, Mama was really good. We didn't ever talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs of theirs. And I think they did it really well during the concert. So that was really good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I enjoy Mama. Yeah, that, I also had a theory that was proven wrong, where when they played multiple Black Parade songs in a row, because for those who don't know, Black Parade, like many of their albums, like, it tells a story. And that's just the one I know the most, because it all is very, like, it feels a bit more structured, it feels a bit more planned out. And when I heard, multiple Black Parade songs in a row, I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing the album, they're telling the story and doing and then we looked after, it's like, no, that's not what they were doing. So, it would have been cool. That would have been like a really cool, like, little Easter egg, but that also, I imagine, is probably really difficult to all, and probably they don't want to play the same songs in the exact same order every single time.
Yeah, I imagine they switch it up quite a bit.
Yeah, more than likely. All right. Well, I believe that is everything we can talk about with My Chemical Romance. Hope they come out with more music, and I hope they come back to Nashville. I would love to see them again. But now it is time for our favorite segment of the show, our Fresh Picks of the Week. This is where we talk about either something fresh where we've been enjoying playing it, or it's something rotten where we've just hated either playing, watching, or listening to it. You get the idea. Most weeks I always, go last, but I'll switch it up. I'm going to start off with a show that I didn't think I was going to like. I saw trailers for it and I was like, it's a video game adaptation, so I probably won't. But for fighting game fans, most of you guys probably know the game Tekken. It's a 3D arena fighter. I was never super into it because I like 2D fighters more than 3D fighters. But the actual Tekken anime that is on Netflix, it's only 6 episodes. It's super short, but it is surprisingly really good quality. Just fight animations alone, really solid. Occasionally they will switch to CG animation, but because of the art style, it flows really well, and half the time you don't even notice, which is really hard to do going from anime to CG, just because of how stark the, contrastly those art styles most of the time fit. But I actually say it manages to work here. And they also do a lot of things with the characters in Tekken, where they take characters who normally I just hate and I can't stand, and I actually kind of enjoy them in their show. For example, there's this one character, I think her name's either Mira or something like that, and her whole gimmick is she's a streamer and she's a wacky girl, and even though I'm a 5'0" skinny white girl, I can fight this sumo wrestler and beat him up. And I always never liked those characters, but in the show they change her up a lot and give her a new backstory about how Heihachi, the main boss, killed her mom, and now she's trying to she's only putting on that persona just so she can get into the crowd and get into the tournament to get revenge on him. Anyway, they do a lot with in this short span, they do a lot with these characters that in my opinion is a lot better. I do hope that they kind of continue this, because Tekken has a lot of characters and a lot of weird backstories. Yeah. Including, they did bring up one of the fighting bears. He never had a fight scene, but it was referenced that he was at the tournament, so hopefully...
Wait, who?
Oh, in Tekken, there's technically 2 characters. One's name is Panda, and then...
Yeah, the bears.
Yeah, the bears, and the other is the bear. And he showed up in the anime.
Oh,
he's in there, but he doesn't have a fight scene.
Oh.
He's there, and then they reference, and I'm assuming it's just because this looks like an expensive anime to watch or to make, and there's only 6 episodes, so it's they probably had to cut him due to just time restraints. But it's funny because one of the characters, Paul Phoenix, they ask him, like, how are you doing this tournament? It's like, I just got finished fighting a bear, and now I have to fight a man in a jaguar helmet. This is weird. Like, he points that out. I was like, I really wish I could see this man fight a bear. That would be awesome. But we do get some of the fit. Like, King, as I just referenced, shows up, so... I enjoy it, if you're a fan of the Tekken series, I would say I would recommend watching this. Or if you're just like, I want a kind of an anime where there's a lot of action, a lot of punching, and it's short, then this is a great choice. And it's on Netflix, and most people have that. So, I've rambled on long enough. Special guest, Drew Doster. What is your fresh pick of the week? Or rotten?
Well, lately I've been playing a lot of Devil May Cry. I've been going through the old PS2 collection, running through those. So I'm probably going to have to pick Devil May Cry 3, the one of the 2 good games in the series.
Okay.
I love them all, but...
It's interesting that you bring that up, because our other, normal co-hosts, Robert and Seth, we've been talking about doing a Devil May Cry, episode for a while. Like, we're really big fans of that series.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, okay, I gotta ask, which 2 are you talking about?
I'm talking about 3 and 5.
Okay. Then I kind of agree. Those are the best in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, then you're right. You're correct. I enjoy, I will definitely get more into this in a future podcast, so stay tuned for that. But I enjoy 4, but you're definitely right. It's not as good as 3, and 5 is the best.
Ooh, I'd say 3 is the best, and 5 is right after, personally.
Really?
That's
Okay.
my opinion.
We might have to bring you back on for that episode, but that's a future conversation. Okay, but what... Yeah, that's it. Okay, we're definitely talking about this more. I was not expecting Devil May Cry. That's a great answer. That's a fantastic
Thank you.
choice. All right. But going to now, Randy, what is your fresh pick?
All right. It's also on Netflix, but it's Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I'm sure we'll probably do an episode about. And honestly, I don't remember if I already said this as one of the things, but I'm in season 2 right now,
Yeah.
and having a blast with it. Also on Netflix, and since we were talking about My Chemical Romance, my boyfriend Will has been watching Umbrella Academy. Because I believe Gerard Way helped with that series, right? Because he wrote the comic book series.
Yeah, he wrote the
Yeah.
the original comics.
Yep.
Yeah, and so the Netflix rendition of it, I know Will has been enjoying a lot. I bet he didn't even realize that was written by, or the comic that it's based off of was written by the lead singer for My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
But
I don't even think
he's
knew
really
that.
been enjoying that. So
That sounds familiar, but I don't even think I remember that. But yeah, that is a great. That's a really good show, and I'm surprised I have not brought that up before, because I also really enjoyed that show. It's very weird and kind of like it's different, and it points out the fact that it's different and embraces that. So yeah, I also recommend that. All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. A bit of a shorter one, no 2-hour-long podcast this week, but
just wait for the next episode of Assassin's Creed.
yeah, don't worry. We'll get to some longer ones. We have some of those topics. But I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank, as always, the co-host Randy.
Welcome. It is a great time recording this.
Yeah. And I want to thank our special guest, Drew Doster. Might have you back on again. Who knows what the future is, but thank you so much for coming with us. And thank you for inviting us to the concert. You were the one that pointed out to us first that this was happening. And so we were like, we need to get tickets.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.